the hors d'oeuvres, but you never invite me to dinner.
Now I'm hungry.
We at Florida Rep obviously want to develop new plays, and we have a new play series, and we made a commitment to do a new play or a second production of a new play and help playwrights along. So for the last 3 years, we've been doing a new play series, and the year Mark was here, this was one of the finalists to be read in our new play series. And at this moment, my memory of that, and that was about a year ago, that we read the Ding Dong and 4 other plays. It was a clear choice that year for the audiences, my staff, as well as I, that the best play we had read, and we read a lot of great plays, but the best play was the Ding Dong.
This play, which is a redressing of an old play from the 1890s, was originally a play with like 20-something people in it, with a lot of people. And as a director, I've gone around the country asking theaters, would you let me do a Feydeau? I think A Flea and a Rehearse is the funniest play that's ever been written, so I always figure someone's gonna let me direct that. And usually it's too big a cast, it's too expensive, and I have to sort of figure, all right, okay. And some time ago, my wife was the artistic director of a theater and always looking for small cast comedies or classic. And it's very hard to find an affordable small cast comedy or classic for your season. And then I thought, well, what if I came up with one? That could be a good idea. The play starts off with a bang where one guy's chasing a girl into her house, and then her husband comes in and he realizes, oh my God, I know her husband. And from there, every door that opens has another character who walks in who adds a complication. And because it was a French play originally, I had the opportunity to be fast and loose with the language. So although I had read every other translation of Le Dindon that I could find, I also had a young French friend of mine give me a literal translation of it. And then the strangest idea of all, which was to take the original French and put it through Google Translate. And once I did that, and I read it, and I saw how absurd even just the language was when it came out of Google Translate, I realized, yeah, you could do anything you want with this. Just rewrite it, rip it apart. But the important thing would be to stay absolutely truthful to the spirit of Feydeau.
Stare all you want, no hard feelings.
I wouldn't say that.
I got to know this play first probably about a year and a half ago, I think. Mark, who is a friend of mine, the playwright, sent it to me to read, I think pretty shortly after he finished writing it. And I read it, and we talked about it, and then pretty shortly after that, he had a reading at his apartment in New York.
Mark, in this process, has been so attentive to like every detail, like a single word. I don't think that word quite works, and he's right. Like he's just a surgeon going in there, and it's comedy. You think it's going to be so big, but it's so detailed.
For this play, I wanted to make really sure that the women in the play had great characters, great tracks, all the different parts that they play, but they were also after love in their own way, and that they could fight back if they're ever given a hard time.
An eye for an eye, a leg for a leg.
And anything else I feel like taking.
When I got the call from my agents to come in for this, initially I was reading for Lucy. And obviously there is not a bad role in this play. So I just thought, fantastic, I'm auditioning for Lucy. And then I went in and I read and I felt pretty good about it. And then some time went by, and then I got a call saying that they thought you were just great. Thought you were just great. Would you want to come in and read for the other part? Which made me think like, actually I wasn't that great because clearly I wasn't quite right for that part.
So I've been with Florida Rep since 2006. I started rehearsal in 2006. My first show was in 2007. And I became an ensemble member, and I've done probably 12 shows, I'd say, here. I did this little known show called Sylvia. Perhaps you've heard of it. Yeah, it's a pretty big hit. I still get barked at.
I met Mark Shanahan earlier this year in November, actually August. I auditioned for a production of Peter and the Starcatcher that he was doing in Arkansas, and ultimately ended up booking it and spent several weeks with him as a director, working on that show. And I've never worked with him as a playwright, and now I have to work with him as an actor to complete the Mark Shanahan Triple Crown.
It's very special to have been involved in this play for as long as I have, a little over a year, reading it in my kitchen. And then I was in the reading in the 2015 Play Festival. And then we did a workshop weekend in New York City in December. And then we brought it to life again in March. And also I helped to cast the play. So I have been sort of intimately involved with the process from the beginning. And then we went into rehearsals, and I got to work with a tremendous group of theater artists.
So this is my first time working with Michelle Damato, and I'd seen her work in Miracle on South Division Street, and I thought she was just fantastic. So I'm so glad I'm getting to work with her now, and I think she's just great, and I love our scenes together, because we actually have like moments of heart and connection as women on stage within this kind of overblown farcical world.
I remember working with Mark on the casting process, and he writes to me an email that says, you know, I sort of wrote the role of Vadeline with my friend Joe in mind, so if you could find it in your time to bring Joe in for this. And he was, you know, it's so funny to me how he sort of politely asks these questions, and that's Mark's charm. Whereas a lot of other people would have said, bring in this guy, I wrote it for him, what are you thinking? So, but Mark asked if we would consider, and I said, of course we'll consider. And of course, he came in and read for Vadeline, and it was a natural choice.
He's the perfect straight man. He's exactly the guy you want to watch squirm and awkwardly try to extricate himself from the situations that Vadeline finds himself in. He has got a great, Joe has an impeccable deadpan.
So I've told Jason Parrish to his face that I don't actually resent that he's so wildly funny in the show and that perhaps he steals scenes. I don't resent that. But I do think that Jason brings a very unique and brilliant sense of comedy to this show.
Claire is actually a little intimidating to rehearse with because, and not in a bad way, but she's got an inexhaustible wealth of ideas and physical bits and choices that she comes in with that are like funny, 10 times funnier than anything I could ever think to do for myself.
Seth Bridges. I like the guy. I think he's really, really funny, and he makes bold choices, and he actually commits so fully to everything he does.
Yes, she was glorious. Although I've lost a layer of skin where it counts and I'm walking funny.
The scenes that we have as Mandy and Redillon, I didn't know how those would kind of come into life, and then he just answered all of those questions.
We're all bringing our own humor to the piece, our own jokes to the piece. It's funny, you can't give someone your humor. You can't tell someone, tell the joke this way, because that's how I would say it. Each person has got to find their own. You have to celebrate the talent and the humor of each actor that you have.
Right away, Bob set a really nice vibe in the rehearsal room that was very collaborative. And we spent the first few days just reading the play around the table several times and discussing it and really getting to know it, which is really helpful. I always feel like I want more rehearsal time.
Bob is like the comedic engine behind this, and it's been very rare that I've actually like high-fived a director in the rehearsal process.
Bob is such an energetic guy, and it's so, he was such a wonderful driving force in the room, in the rehearsal room, and he's got very clear ideas of what he's after, what this particular audience would respond to. He knows this audience so well.
And it was such a joy to work with him because I felt completely safe to make extreme offers.
I was a little worried about this, spending so much time around the table, because I knew there'd be so much physical activity, so I wanted to make sure we were able to get that in our bodies and really figure out all the intricate movement that was going on. But once we got up on our feet, since we had read it so much and knew how we needed to get where we needed to be, all of that stuff started to fall into place fairly easily.
I like the thought that this play has actors playing multiple roles with a flip of a hat. Very quickly, an actor walking out a door as one character and coming right back in a few seconds later with another hat and saying, "Who is that guy who just left?" really lets the actor do all the work of creating something unbelievably imaginative.
Jason Parrish's character does quite a few different characters, so we had to really adapt his clothes to make the quick changes as fast as we could for him, because he will literally come off stage and then maybe a couple of minutes of dialogue goes by and he's a whole new character. So quick rigging all of his pieces together, shirt, vests, ties, you know, and then zippers in back to help facilitate quick changes. And then after he puts on his jacket, you can't even tell that everything's been sewn together or sleeves have been chopped off or anything like that.
There's a constant surprise all the time. So my challenge kind of as an actor was not to get overwhelmed by those surprises, but let them sort of build throughout the play, so that Vazquez has a real journey through this play, where he, you know, starts off as a kind of confident guy who thinks he's got everything together, and as the pieces start to fall apart and he gets confronted by all of these people who are sort of inadvertently anyway, sort of tearing his life apart, he has to get a little bit more and more desperate trying to hold his life together.
I play Edmund Pontignac, he's a bit of an overgrown teenager. He has a tremendous passion, shall we say, and women are his conquests.
I played Lucy. She's a feisty little character.
If I catch my husband cheating on me, I'm yours.
I didn't actually see her as feisty in the beginning, and it wasn't until some of the final rehearsals when Bob, the director, was giving us the direction, and he was saying that Jason and I were basically just saying like we're adversaries, and this is when the relationship becomes adversarial, and this is when the game is on, and that really changed that character for me. She became a lot less sweet and a lot more strong.
My first appearance is as Madame Pontignac, and she's a, Rosalind Russell broad who's being cheated on, serially.
And I also play Dr. Pinchard, who I think Mark has decided, and this isn't in the play, but I love knowing that his first name is Maurice, the poor man. He is sort of a hapless old man with a temper, but he's lovable.
And then my second character is Fabiola, and she's an Italian. And I don't want to say vixen, even though I think Joe calls her a vixen. I don't think she's a vixen. I think she's passionate, a wildly passionate woman who has fallen in love with a married man. And then Mandy from New York is just on a quest to find the best lover the world has to offer.
I admire a guy who waits, but maybe while you're waiting you want to practice.
So when we're in rehearsal, we're in a different room. Obviously, we're not on the stage, and everything's mapped out on the floor. We have doors, but it's nothing like when you actually get on the stage. Everything changes. A lot of times, you just go blank when you get on stage for the first time, and especially in a play like this, where I have 9 entrances in Act 2 as different people and through different doors. So I can remember this one time in particular, leaving through one door and then making a right when I should have made a left. And everything stopped. Michelle went the wrong way. We talked about that for about 5 minutes later, and then we did it again, and I did the exact same thing. And I was backstage going, "Don't tell Bob it was me. Don't tell Bob it was me." And then I come back on stage, and Bob goes, "Michelle, you know where you're going?" Shame. So I made little notes, and I put them on all the doors. This is one of the ones they took down. Madame Pinchard from closet. "Pinchard, help! This man is attacking me!" Land on Jason. There's an arrow that says that way, because this is the scene where I went in the wrong direction twice.
Since we've been in the theater, what I've really loved is like the transformation we've had because of the set and all of the great detail work, like all of these paintings that were created, and everything has to be so functional. We've got this gold molding everywhere, and it's gorgeous, and yet these doors have to slam 200 times a night and not fall apart. And we're trying to preserve that magic for the audience. And I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Audiences take to this play immediately, and the laughter starts very quickly, and it just builds throughout the course of the play as things get more kind of frantic, especially in Act 2 when there's a lot of physical running around and chasing. So to feel like the audience gets on board right at the beginning and takes that ride and they're with you the whole way and the laughter just increases, it's a great thrill.
You need incredible energy. You need to speak much faster than you could ever imagine you would ever speak on the stage. This had to be a tight balloon that stayed tight, and you could never let the air out of it.
After about the first week of rehearsal, we've stopped laughing at all of the jokes. We sort of become inoculated to all of the bits, and you end up rehearsing this comedy in a vacuum, hoping that some of this stuff will land. And it's been great to get it in front of people and to have the relief that, yes, in fact, it is funny.
It's just that I'm saving myself.
You are the home of true love.
A theater shouldn't want to just premiere plays. They shouldn't want to just do first productions of plays, because it's hard enough for a playwright to get a premiere production, but it's actually harder, I'm told, to get a second production of a play, because that's less prestigious for a playwright, or for a theater. It's less prestigious for a theater to do a second production or the regional premiere. So a lot of theaters shy away from doing a second production.
I think it's amazing for regional theaters to give time and a platform for young emerging or new emerging playwrights and for new work that might not be seen otherwise.
It's a hard thing for any play in the American theater to find its legs and get launched. It really is. And you need some place to incubate it and some place to give it its first breath, its first life, to deliver it. And what's great about the New Plays Festival is audiences come, and it's great for authors to hear the plays in front of an audience and to get feedback, but also just to see what it feels like in real time, to hear the play out loud.
I think regional theaters around America, whether it's going to be fast or slow, are going to start discovering this and start producing it. And in fact, for Florida Rep, we still have a week left in our run here, and it has already become the biggest financial success we've ever had in this closing slot.
I think one of the special things about this play is that you could only do it on stage. It's something that is very specially designed for a theatrical experience. I mean, it's a night out at the theater, and we can watch movies to see things that are ultra real, and there are plays that are wonderful when they're ultra realistic and hyper real. But I think that this play really is a love letter to all of those things. It's a love letter to the theater and to actors and to designers and stage crafts people who can engineer something as special and as magical as this.
This, I think, is the most difficult of all plays to do. A farce like this, and of course, with that, it becomes incredibly rewarding.
Need some soap? I see what you mean about dirty cracks down there.